All right, welcome all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time zone you're in. Appreciate your joining. And, today we'll go over some of the issues and strategies that IMGs can employ, issues they face, challenges they have in the upcoming residency match. All right, so here's the outline. I'm on slide 3. We'll introduce ourselves, we'll introduce our team, the speakers. Then the focus of this presentation will be pretty much what the residency programs want to see in IMG applicants. What are some of the pitfalls that the IMG applicants face? How they can overcome those hurdles, what strategies they can employ. And then how can our team help, who we are, how can we help? Just to get started and to get a sense of where you guys are, can you type in your geographic location and which specialty you guys are interested in? So if you want to take a couple of minutes to just to let us know. Internal medicine, OBGYN, psychiatry, surgery, family medicine.
There's one surgery.
Oh, okay. Seeds. Okay, so these are, this is just good for us to know. All right, so, going on to the next slide, Rahul, why don't I give it to you, then I introduce myself, and then we'll go to Madhura and Salma.
Yeah, welcome everyone. My name is Rahul Pinala. I'm a gastroenterologist. Like all of you or most of you, I trained outside and came here and went through the whole residency and fellowship path. So our goal here is to try our best to, make this process better, help you understand, navigate this process. So I'm really excited to see such a active participation, and so hopefully this will be helpful for you.
Thanks, Rahul. So Dr. Sameer Panala is also on our panel. He's running a bit late due to some family emergency, so hopefully he'll be...
Actually, he's in the hospital. He's coping.
Oh, there you go. Life of a physician. So hopefully he'll be able to join us. And my name is Pawan Khera. Most of you must have interacted with me on the WhatsApp group, and I've spoken with a lot of you. I'm an MBA. I teach at Carnegie Mellon. I've been a former program director and admissions committee member. And now what I want to do is turn it over to some of our students who matched last year. 2 of them are on, Dr. Madhura Malya and Dr. Salma. So I want to give it to them so they can introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. So Madhura, do you want to start?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Madhura Maila, and I'm IMG obviously, and I matched into University of New Mexico School of Medicine this year, and I graduated from Gandhi Medical College, Hyderabad. Yeah, that is it about me.
Thanks, Madhura. Salma, do you want to go next?
Yes. Hello, everyone. This is Salma. I'm IMG from India. I graduated from Deccan College of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad, and I matched into internal medicine residency at NSLIJ Forest Hills, New York. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Salma. So what we want to do is we want to make it very interactive, and obviously, in addition to our experience, we'll get Dr. Madhura and Dr. Salma to share their experience as they've gone through this match just very recently, so that you can get a fairly good idea of what to do, what not to do, and what to focus on. All right. So here are some of the other members of our team. You can look them up on our website. Where they work. What they do. We have faculty from Stanford, Mayo Clinic, UPMC Pittsburgh, University of Kentucky, very experienced. All of them are IMGs, have been here more than 10 years practicing now, so they are very well versed with the system. So next chart 7, and what we do. So we are a bunch of former IMGs, as you can see. They have very intricate knowledge of the U.S. medical system, but more importantly, they do understand the challenges that IMGs face, what the background we come from, and how, to align your interest, your credentials with what the residency programs are looking for. This is something unique we bring to the table, how to make sure the IMGs actually understand what the programs are looking for and therefore help them align their applications and interview prep accordingly. So we provide fairly customized mentoring to our students. Chart 8 is just a sample of where some of our students matched. We had about 48 students last year, 42 of them matched. So you can see, I don't know if it's readable, but let me put it on screen. Yeah, so Wayne State, University of South Carolina, New Mexico. So you can see a combination of the university programs and community hospitals. And we've had students in all these specialties: internal medicine, pediatrics, neurology, psychiatry, and family medicine last year. All right. Then now some dates for the upcoming season. As probably all of you know, September 15th is the day the residency programs begin to receive the applications. They cannot download before September 15th. Although you can, this year, you can start certifying and submitting your application on 6th September. Now these dates are subject to change, but this is the latest we have. So September 6th, you can actually certify and submit, but programs will receive it only on September 15th. Most questions we receive, do I need to apply on day one? And can I apply with an incomplete application? So the answer to the first question is no, you don't need to apply on day one. The programs are not dying to download it on September 15th. They take their time, week, 10 days, they download, they apply their filter. So as long as you apply within the first 2 weeks, you should still be in the first lot of the applicants they review. So you don't need to rush. It's not September 15th is the last date, so keep that in mind. Second, more importantly, never apply with incomplete application. You should be ECFMG certified, everything in order, only then apply. A lot of students in the rush to apply on day one apply with incomplete application. Now, ideally and technically, the programs should go back once your application is complete. They should review it and then get back to you, but that rarely happens. So your best bet is to apply with complete application, even if you are late by a month. I mean, if that is the case, let that be the case, but we strongly suggest that you apply with complete application. All right. So a couple of interesting charts, because this relates to another question we get frequently from our students. First, look at this. The demand-supply gap in the U.S. is a reality. So total applicants for all spots are more than 40,000 first-year spots, and the match is only you can see the gap about 26,000. So there are people, there are applicants who will go unmatched. Okay, so this is a reality. Now look at the second chart. Now this is it shows you the match rate for the U.S. seniors. These are the AMGs, the U.S. IMGs. So they are U.S. citizens who probably gone to offshore schools like the Caribbean schools. Some of them have actually been to Indian schools and other schools, so outside of U.S. And then you can see the non-U.S. IMGs. Now the interesting thing here is the non-U.S. IMG match rate is close to 50%, in the past couple of years. In fact, this March, it was 53%. It is very high. I mean, come to think of it, it is 1 in 2 applicants. So every 2 applicants apply, one of them will match, right? So if you go back to your med school or high school or the competition you guys faced, the acceptance rate in your med school was probably, much more stringent and much less than this 50%. So you guys have done it there. You can do it here. It's a lot of times we get this question, can I match? Can I not match? It is very tough. But so this just shows that 50% is a very good shot. You can do it. All right. What else? Let me go to the next chart. So yes, so now we'll go over some of the preferred specialties, and Dr. Panala and Madhura and Salma will walk you through the rest of it. So Rahul, do you want to take it from here, the IMG preferred specialties?
So, for international medical graduates, while you can apply for pretty much any specialty that you want, one has to factor in the practical realities. There are specialties that are just going to be super, super competitive, that unless you have a very special background, unless you've done a lot of work in that area and you come and spend a lot of time here working with somebody from that, it's going to be extremely challenging. But these are the ones that tend to be the most successful. Internal medicine obviously is the most popular. Pediatrics, family medicine, psychiatry, and neurology are the ones that we've seen where people are most successful. And I think the vast majority of international graduates tend to gravitate towards these specialties. Now, while most international graduates apply to these specialties and, about 50% of people match overall, the competition definitely is high. If you look at these graphs, if you start around here, this is data from the NRMP that shows about, data from about nearly 200 programs. They have about 18 spots per program. But for those 18 spots, they're getting nearly 3,000 applications. Of the 3,000 applications, they're inviting about 300 people to come and interview at their program. 250 actually interview, and the people who are ranked are about 170. So if they call you for an interview, the likelihood is that they will put you in the rank order list. But as you can see, it's a big drop-off from about 2,800 to 178. Now, nearly two-thirds of the applicants are rejected. Only about a third of the applicants receive an in-depth review of the application. What that means is that you really have to have a standout application, and you have to do everything to project your credentials for your application to stand out. So let's move here. We want to hear from you in the chat. What do you guys think are the most important factors that determine math success for an IMG? So let's take a couple of minutes. I want to see what people think, and then we can use that as a jumping off board to talk about this. So scores, visas, see letters of recommendation, years of graduation, communication, contacts.
Contacts. That's interesting. Contacts in uppercase. Oh my God.
Interview skills, I think, is very important. Passion is very important. You have to convey the passion.
Research, CV.
The whole picture. I think someone hit that on the head.
A lot of people think scores are very important, which they are.
No high scores connection. US clinical experience, I think, is very important. Which medical school you went to, is it well known or not? Very good. I think you guys are all obviously on the right track, and we've just wanted to highlight some of those factors. So I think these are some of the things that we've found based on our experience, which are very important for international graduates. Visa obviously is something that you can't change, but you get filtered based on that. So you have to know what visa you have, what the program is willing to accept, and you may have the world's best application, but if they're not going to do a J1 or an H1 and that's the visa that you need, they're not going to look at your application. I think scores are extremely important, and I'll show you some data on scores. So I think, excuse me, the first thing that you can do as you start this process is to make sure that you spend adequate time on your exams and make sure you get absolutely stellar scores. U.S. clinical experience we'll talk about a little bit. I think that's very critical. I think the landscape has changed. When we applied for residency, hardly anybody ever had any U.S. clinical experience, but now it's become kind of mandatory, or you really need to have some U.S. clinical experience for people to consider you. Strong letters of recommendation, year of graduation, I think, is a very big thing. The programs do want to see people who have graduated recently, or if you have graduated a few years ago, how you have used that time and how productive you've been. And I think research is going to be more and more important, and that's what's going to differentiate you from the rest of the field. So here's data on... Yeah.
Do you want to, maybe we should open it up to Madhura and Salma. I mean,
Great point.
Last year. So what do you guys think? What are the important factors? Because you've successfully done it last year.
Yeah, can you hear me, Pawan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so from my experience, I think I would put U.S. clinical experience on the top, because wherever I went for an interview, everyone were looking actually for the clinical experience and what I have learned in that clinical experience especially. So clerkships are always on the top for me. And not only the clerkships, but the LORs you can get through from the clerkships. If you can get strong LORs, that is always a plus point. And for me, next comes the research. And it's always good to have some research in your profile, like, any research experience with some publication, at least one poster or one publication. And of course, scores are important, but you may not actually have 250s or 260s to actually match. Even 230s and 240s would do for internal medicine. I mean, I have seen my friends matching with 230s and 220s also, in fact. But I think that's a rare case. But 230s and 240s are always good. But 250s and 260s are always better than that. But still, if you have 240s and 230s, you can do it. And contacts, I think most of the people are stressing upon contacts, but seriously guys, contacts are not really important. I never had any contact in US, but still I could do it, so anyone can do it. So contacts are not really important. Don't really think that if you don't have contacts, you're not really in the game. So don't think that way. And yes, visa is important to get the interview. Definitely it is important, but to match it is not really important. It is just to, if you want to get good number of interviews, yes, the visa would help. But even if you don't, have some citizenship or a green card, it doesn't really matter. If you can get like at least 5 or 6 interviews with all the above, like US clinical experience and good LORs, you can still do it to good universities also.
Thanks, Madhura. Salma, what has been your experience?
Yes, according to me,
different experience.
Yeah, according to me, the first thing I would say is to get an interview, you need good scores. I would say scores are important. Then comes the U.S. clinical experience, and then comes the year of graduation, and then comes the visa. According to me, I think so. But this is for to get an interview, because the higher scores you have, the more the chances of getting an interview. But once you get into interview, it all depends on your interview skills and how you are presenting yourself, because I didn't have good scores, but I was able to get few interviews. But though I was able to manage, it's just only because of my interview skills and how I presented myself. Like, though I have the skills, I couldn't get it from the U.S. clinical experience. So I was able to do the clinical experience in only the clinics, not even in big hospitals or university hospitals. If you have them, then it is a plus point. But do not hesitate to present yourself. Just be yourself whenever you present. I say the scores. If you are at an average pace concerning your scores, then it comes your U.S. clinical experience and then your year of graduation. And the most important thing is the homework which you do to apply to the programs. Do not apply haphazardly to all the programs. Rather, you do your homework, which programs you are going to apply.
Someone needs to go on mute, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Sorry.
I think so, I'm done. Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Salma.
I just wanted to, thank you so much, Madhura and Salma. I think what, those are critical points. This was, what we had on the slide is in no specific order, but we thought that these are the most important things, and I completely agree. It's a combination. The residency process, the residency application process is actually very, very fair in general. So I'd like to stress you don't really need contacts. You don't really need someone to get you in, or those things hardly ever work. So I think the whole picture, people here, the whole picture I think is the most important one.
Okay. So now on to the next chart, Rahul.
Yeah, so just about scores, I think scores are important. They, as you can see here, this is data from the NRMP. This is for U.S. seniors who have a very high rate of matching, but for international graduates, as you see, there is a linear curve, and somewhere around 230, 240, you reach about 70%. So scores are important. As you get to stellar scores, your probability of matching goes up substantially. But so I think what this highlights is that you really have to focus on your exams, because that's typically your first step in the residency process. So when you do your exams, spend time, take your exams properly, and try to get the best score that you possibly can. Do you want to take from here, or do you want me to keep going?
Well, you can keep on going. Probably I'll summarize,
Okay. So then, scores are, most of you have already taken your exams. You've taken, you have the scores that you have, but there is a whole lot more for the application process than just the scores. And I think there is a lot you can do to improve your chances of projecting yourself, how you can get the application. And for example, when you're doing an ERAS application, I think that's a very critical part. That's what people look at. You want your ERAS application to reflect what you have done. So when you've done U.S. clinical activities, they need to reflect exactly what you did, rather than generic things like activities. Did you give presentations in there? What did you do? What was the outcome? And, things that are very simple, you don't want to write, which may be very different from your home country, where, for example, like drawing a blood sample, things like that are done by PAs and, essentially done by nurses here. So you really want to project that the U.S. clinical experience that you got, you've used that to the maximum. And you want to use, and also from what you've done at home, you actually want to put on the application things that are going to be important from a U.S. perspective. So you don't really want to put activities that, would be considered mundane here. So I guess that's the point there. You want to showcase your personality. You want to put unique hobbies, volunteer experience. The one thing we see is a lot of, very generic hobbies, very generic stuff on the application, which really doesn't put you or differentiate you from other folks who apply. So generic mention of cooking, cricket, dancing, watching TV, things like that don't really help you and may actually hurt you. So think about that.
So Rahul, I do want to bring in Madhura and Salma here because, they had some very unique hobbies, volunteer activities. So Madhura, can you shed some light on, your hobbies, volunteer activities? Because I know they were very unique.
Yeah, can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, like Pawan said, having unique hobbies is actually very important because in interviews they need something to speak about. So most of the people, they like to speak about hobbies because they see what, they want to know what you are personally. They don't really care about what your scores are once you're in the interview. So if you have something unique, like, I had, a unique hobby of playing throwball. Most of the people in America don't know about it. So everywhere I interviewed, all the interviewers were asking me about that. So it's something like, you can keep the conversation going. I even was the captain of the captain of the throwball team. So I could actually, turn the tables towards me. Like, I said that, I had this leadership qualities and, for example, I used to play throwball. So, having unique hobbies and is always good because you can speak about it and you can relate that to your what do we call, like how it is going to help you in your residency. So you can, connect those and then, that actually makes up a conversation there, and that's always good.
Yeah, thanks, Madhura. Salma, do you want to talk about, I know you had, we refined the cooking hobby to be something.
Yeah, right, that's right. So I would definitely go with that, like avoid generic mention of cooking, cricket, dancing. Just don't be specific. You should be different from others. When you say cooking, just mention like what you are expert in. Like I was good at cooking, but whenever they said, okay, come on, tell me about your hobbies, I used to say, yeah, I love cooking and I'm good at biryani. And they were like, oh, biryani, Hyderabad is famous for that. And they asked me about that. And the whole interview went on biryani itself. So you just want to make sure that the questions, what they are going to ask is what you have to present yourself. Like the next question should be from your talk, not from the from the interview talk, but from your talk. So just try to elaborate your hobbies and try to make it specific. Cook out something like if you're having a specific hobby, like as Madhura said, like she is good at a particular sport, like try to expand that, but make sure at the same time, like the interviewer is ready to listen you, not just you are going to speaking and he or she is not at all interested. Just make sure to keep that in mind as well. That's it.
Thanks. So,
and Pawan, I want to add something in this. You can, if you are good at paintings, you can carry a painting with you. I actually did that, and I even gave it to many of the interviewers, and they were so happy. They even added that into my file. They took a sign on the painting, and they added into my file. So I think things like this would add something, unique to your file,
Yep, that's interesting.
Thank you.
I just want to take a minute to introduce Dr. Samir Islam, who's just joined us. He's one of our panel members. Dr. Islam is a gastroenterologist, a very busy gastroenterologist, and he trained at the Mayo Clinic along with us here. And Samir, welcome. And Dr. Islam can give some, I see that there are a lot of questions about why these hobbies matter and things like that. So maybe, Samir, you can pick up and give your input.
Yeah, of course. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm sorry I'm late, number one. I actually had an emergency occur, but everything's A-okay. But the hobby question is actually a very good point. A lot of program directors here in the United States, and especially a lot of medical residencies, are very keen on having a very well-rounded physician. And so part of being well-rounded is having actually very good hobbies that distinguish you from somebody else. There's a really big push here, especially within the residency community, of having not just people who are able to be good clinicians, but also people who are able to interact with patients, have good bedside manner, and also to be unique. And having a very unique hobby is actually a good way to distinguish yourself from anybody else. I remember when I went through my residency program and also my fellowship interviews, I do a particular exercise called CrossFit, and virtually every single interviewer who I had, both in residency and fellowship, asked me about this and what it was, how it, what I did, what it entailed. And that, at least in my opinion, gave them a unique perspective of who I was, and it allowed them to differentiate me from any of the other applicants who were applying. I think that actually helped me out a lot. And so I know it's kind of mundane talking about these hobbies, but it actually is an important part of your ERAS application.
Excellent, great. So that was very helpful. I think that I hope was helpful to a lot of you to help clarify that. In the interest of time, maybe we should keep moving along. And Samir, you want to talk a little bit about how personal statement would be important, maybe? Can you see the slides?
I can see the slides, yeah.
I don't. Oh, can you? Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And so the personal statement is actually a very important part of the ERAS and the whole application process. These program directors literally see thousands and thousands of personal statements, and it tends to run on and on and on for a lot of people. And so it's very important to make sure you don't have cliches. I can probably guarantee you, if you have a cliche and you think it's unique, most people, it's already been written about before, and the program directors already know about it. And so I would avoid cliches as much as possible. It's really critical to make sure you don't have any typos or any grammatical mistakes. And this is a very big red flag for a lot of program directors and for a lot of people who are trying to apply. Having typos and having grammatical mistakes indicates just, you're not very careful about what exactly you're doing. And that can be a sign of other things that people can be worried about. So by all means, make sure you don't have any typos or any grammatical mistakes. Make sure you also clearly articulate your interest in your particular field and what experience you've had and your fit within that particular field. So, for example, in internal medicine, where I did my residency, I made it clear exactly why I loved internal medicine, and made it clear my experience with that particular field. Then also, it's also important to start gathering all of your own experiences now. Make sure if you are interested in surgery, start to follow surgeons, go through the process of making sure you know exactly what some of those surgical fields are. And same thing with pediatrics, OB-GYN. Starting early to get those experiences now will help out in the long run.
Thank you. USCE. Rahul, you want to talk about it, or Madhura?
Yeah, I could pick it up here. U.S. clinical experience, we've really talked about it. I think this is going to be, this has really become extremely important in addition to scores. If you can get electives and clerkships during your medical school years, I think that goes a long way. That gives you hands-on management, and obviously programs prefer to see you have hands-on compared to observerships, but if you can't get hands-on, observerships would be the next most preferred thing. Like someone was saying, or Salma I think was saying, it was, it doesn't have to be at the best university, it doesn't, so maximize your U.S. clinical experience. And then I think the most important point, and I think most of you are doing this point, is to leverage that in your application and interviews, to what you did, use those electives, use those clerkships, not just to show up and observe, but do something unique, give presentations, and then leverage that in your application. Tell people what you did and how you did it. So, Samir, any thoughts on that? And Madhura and Salma?
Yeah. Yes, U.S. clinical experience is it is one of my top priority. I mean, I would suggest everyone to at least do 3 or 4 clinical electives while you are in UG. Hello, can you hear?
Yep, can you, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I suggest you guys to, while doing clinical electives, you can even engage in some of the research activities. That's what I did when I did my clinical electives. I actually got a poster presentation out of my clinical clerkship. So you always have the choice, you can go ahead, talk to the attending. If you have a very good case with you, you can always ask him if you can write an abstract or do a poster presentation if possible. And they will happily accept if you have a good potential case with you. And US clinical experience is one good opportunity to build up contacts with residents, with fellows and attendings. And to get good strong LORs, and if you can get a clinical clerkship in one of the subspecialty, you will have good opportunity to work with so many attendings. So you can work with one attending each week. If you work for 4 weeks, you would have like already 4 LORs with you. And And yes, one point I need to mention here is when doing clerkship, please make sure to write down all your cases. Maintain a notebook, a personal notebook of yourself, and write everything down. Because before going to the interview, if you can, read all those cases, if someone asks you in the interview if you can present a good case or something, you will be ready to do it. So if you can do it with the lab values, I did that actually when one of the interviewers asked me to explain some good case. I actually even mentioned lab values, and they liked it so much. So just you need not actually remember all the cases you have seen, but at least few of the cases, few very good cases which you have seen in your clerkship, that would do.
And I also wanted to bring Samir here. He's an American. He was born and brought up here and things like that. So maybe, Samir, you can give them some perspective on how American graduates approach their clerkships and any pointers about that.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. And so, the way we approach our clerkship is a little bit different in the sense that, we're obviously used to the system, and so we kind of know what to expect. But the best thing that you can do, at least from us, is to A, get experience in that field, but B, get contacts with the various attendings and the various people who can help out with your application process. And so, when I went through my clerkships, whenever I was a medical student, I always made sure that I presented patients as many as I could. I always brought topics to speak about amongst the group. And I made sure that I made myself known to the attendings and to the program director. But also, the other important thing is that this also gives you an opportunity to also do research as well. There are a lot of interesting cases that we see almost on a daily basis that can easily be turned into either case reports, projects, something that you can hopefully get something out of, which, by doing these research projects, you're able to you're able to build up your CV more and hopefully allow that to get you into a better program, into at least a good residency program.
Great, thank you so much. So I think in interest of time, moving along, did I jump?
Yeah, the research one.
Yeah, did it?
Yep.
Research.
No.
So I just want to spend a couple of minutes, and guys, please feel free to drop in. I think research is going to be the big differentiator as residencies get very, very competitive. Research really helps. Programs are looking for research. It also improves your ability to get into a better program. University programs typically tend to want research. Research could be in the form of manuscripts, publications, poster presentations, or at least initiative. These are demonstrated outcomes, but at least you may not have those outcomes when you apply for it, when you're starting to apply, but at least show what projects you're involved in, what is going to be the potential outcome. So obviously research here is going to be more valuable. It can lead to letters of recommendation. It actually leads to quicker outcomes, posters, things like that. And I think one of the things I want people to really pay attention to is the fact that the knowledge of statistical and analytical tools is becoming increasingly important. What I mean by that is having basic epidemiology, basic statistics, knowledge of one or the other statistical software, things like that, things that you can really achieve skills in by yourself. If you can do a certificate program, that's great, but show some sense of knowledge of these statistical and analytical tools. I think that can be very helpful.
Yeah, thanks. All right, now the big one, the interviews and the importance of it. So I think Salma mentioned about it, but why don't we talk about it, Rahul?
Yeah, and Samir, please feel free to join in. See, interviews, so you've done all that, you've put your application in, you've done a great job, and interview is where, your scores, your application, and everything get you to the point of the interview. Once you walk into that interview, it's what you do in those 15, 20 minutes that really make an impression. People do look at the big picture, but at the end of the day, a lot of people, that gut feeling goes a long way. These are people who have been doing this for a long time. They can assess you in about 5 minutes, and so it really makes an impact. So, they interview a lot of people. The interviewer should remember you positively after the interview. So if they're interviewing 20 people in a day, what made you stand out? So unique responses, confidence, social skills, they're looking really for the whole package. They're looking for people who will be a good fit in their residency, who they think they can be dependable, who will get along well with people, who are going to show initiative, not just show up to work and take care of their cases and go home, and who are going to use that residency to go to the next step, either to a fellowship, to a good job, things like that, which project well on the residency program. So you need to be unique. You need to, people prepare a lot of stock answers, stock questions, towards stock questions, which I think that's where, we hope that this forum will be helpful to help you prepare better and not just, have an okay or an average interview. You need to stand out. And this comes from preparation. It's not just going to come, on the day of the interview. This comes from practice, preparation, doing a lot of mock interviews, talking to your colleagues, talking to your mentors, things like that.
Yeah, and I do want to mention here, I'm sorry, Samir, go ahead.
No, I was going to reiterate, the practice aspect of the interview is very, very important. I mean, you can tell when you interview somebody for these positions, whether they practice or not, and you can also tell pretty quickly if these are just stock answers or not. And so it's really important to practice your interview skills, but also to make sure that you have answers that are not just stock, the regular answers that everyone else gives.
Yeah. And the other thing which is kind of unique to IMG is we see a lot of IMGs who lack confidence, and then they try to change their personality. The one suggestion we always give to our students is you should not change your personality, just be confident. And, both our students here, Dr. Madhura and Dr. Salma, can attest to that. We continuously kept on telling them, don't change your personality, but be confident, be yourself. I think that is one key thing you all need to remember. I don't know, Madhura, Salma, do you have anything to add?
I second Pavan. Yeah, go ahead, Salma.
All right, Madhura, please go ahead.
No, okay. So I second Pawan. Actually, I took interview. Interview coaching at Pawan with Pawan, and all they said to me is, "Be yourself. Don't change yourself." And yes, that's what I did. And it's always good to do things with what you have already, rather than trying to be someone else. And that's what I did, and it worked for me. All they want to see is what you are ultimately in the interview. So there is no point in faking, or no point in getting tense or something. So just be yourself in the interview. That's it.
Salma, you had something?
Yes, the most important factor what I suggest is just be confident. That is the main thing which is lacking in most of the IMGs. Like whenever we go, we see like around the minimum being 8 students coming there for the interview, or sometimes the maximum going to 40. So what happens is that you chit chat, you start talking about them, like how many interviews you had, what are your scores. This topic is going to be definitely spoken before you attend the interview. So they would be saying like, I had 20 interviews, my scores are these. So that is going to affect your confidence. Just neglect all these things. Just be yourself. You are halfway, and just you are only halfway through get into residency. If you will do well, that's it. Nobody is going to take out your residency seat from you. So what I suggest is don't get panicked by others saying like, I got these many interviews, my scores are these, so this is just this one, and try to behave like what you are naturally, not like you should not imitate. Like if somebody says like, you have to do this, you have to do that, just don't imitate, just be yourself. Like if anybody asks you, like when we ask the residents, like what are the most important things like the interviewers are going to like when we go for an interview, they will be saying the only thing, just be yourself. So always I suggest, just be yourself, talk in a good way, and I suggest always practice, practice, and practice. That is going to fetch you a lot. I mean, it fetch you a lot, because I was not at all prepared until the last of October, until I started joining USMLE Sarthi. I started doing questions, then one-on-one mock interviews and all the sessions. It really helped me. Like if you got an interview, that is the chance, golden chance. I would say diamond chance to get into residency. Just be yourself. That's it.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Salma, and thanks, Madhura.
Thank you.
I think moving on, we wanted to just highlight some of the common pitfalls that we've seen for international medical graduates. We talked about poor planning and preparation, especially in the application process, applying before all the scores are available, applying before the certifications, things like that. So just plan if you can, as best as you can. The application, not spending enough time on preparing the application, not getting, how you project your U.S. clinical experience, how you project. Let's say I saw a thing about home residencies. I just wanted to, and that ties into this weak application thing. So let's say you've done a home residency, instead of just saying, PG in pediatrics or whatever, when you describe that, exactly say how big the hospital was. Maybe you worked in a very high volume hospital, so that what are the skills you acquired, what are, some of the complexity of the cases, maybe you ran the neonatal intensive care unit and all that. So that goes a long way. So you really want to highlight that. And, applying with incomplete applications, attempts. If you have an attempt either in clinical skills or things like that, then you have to be prepared to discuss that, and you have to really, I think preemptively before you take the clinical skills, really prepare, and so that you don't have any attempts. First, clinical experiences are going to be extremely important, and we're stressing that. So, American graduates do up to 72 weeks of U.S. clinical experience because they're going through the system. So try to get as much as you can. The other thing we see is letters of recommendation are very generic for most of the IMGs. Those don't really stand out. and really lack of guidance of how to navigate the process, how to be strategic about it, things like that, I think are the biggest pitfalls that we see. But turn it over to you, Pawan. You know more, talk about the planning and that.
Yeah, so let me go to the next chart, kind of summarizing everything we said. We definitely recommend starting early. You should have all started now, at least getting your observership, externship. Start thinking about the inventory of experiences. Start thinking about, all the experiences you've had, personal, professional, because part of that will go into personal statement, part of that will go into your ERAS application. Try to get hands-on, as we discussed. If not hands-on, get observership. More importantly, of course, as I think Madhura and Salma also mentioned, if you have anything on the application that is a fair game for interviews, we've seen 30 minutes being spent on hobbies, volunteer experiences. So please don't write something, quote unquote, in which you're lying, because if you're caught, and it's very easy to get caught, be yourself, be good at what you've written. You should know what you've written. Just don't say, I don't remember what I wrote, because everything on your application is a fair game when it comes to interviews. Impactful ERAS application, personal statement, all the activities you've done, what you learned, what impact you created, think about that kind of structure in your ERAS application. Apply with complete application. I'm on chart 24, as we've discussed before. Scanned and scripted answers do not work. As Dr. Islam also said, everyone agrees, you have to really, really make these responses unique. The questions are, if you look at the stock questions, the 50 stock questions, maybe generic, tell me something about yourself, strengths, weaknesses, etc. They're very common, but it is the responses that make you unique. So those are the things you really need to work on, okay? And I think others also mentioned it's all about practice, practice, and practice. Interview, a lot of IMGs, if you're, like others, have not been trained for interviewing skills in our home countries, which is fine. This is a skill that can be mastered, but you need time. You need time and you need practice. If you leave it to the end, it becomes difficult. If you leave it to November when you get the first interview and then you're racing against time, it becomes difficult. So start early and practice. And finally, be confident, be yourself. You can do it. Every year, a lot of IMGs do it. You don't need contacts. 53% match rate is very high. Focus on what you know, what your interests are. Don't apply blindly to 5 specialties if you cannot show commitment. The ability to show that commitment, your skills, experience in that specialty, the LOR, all go towards it, but it is very doable, as you all know. You've seen it done before, you can do it. That's all we had. Finally, who we are and how we can help. So one of the biggest things we can help is, help you understand the process. We have a unique methodology. We do quite a bit of one-on-one coaching, mentorship that helps. We work with you on your personal statement. We, ERAS application. And we are not a typical personal statement writing service. So you'll see a lot of, these writing services. We are not one of them. We have a well-qualified panel, as you can see. So we look at it from a program director perspective, from a program perspective, what they are looking for and how you can align your application. We can help you project your research and clinical experience in the best light possible. We'll also kind of help you in which programs to apply. And finally, of course, interview prep is something we are very proud of. We've helped a lot of students last year. This year we made a lot of changes. Everything will be on Skype or this kind of a video, unlimited coaching, mock interviews. So hopefully with all this, you will get some tools and skills to do a good job in your match. So that was all, and we have about 4 minutes. So I don't know, closing thoughts, Rahul, Sameer, Madhura, Salma, any closing thoughts?
No, I think the point we wanted to make across this is there are 2 points. One, it's very doable. You guys, have a very high chance of success. You just got to keep doing what you're doing and do it very smart. Do it in a smart manner. So I'll turn it over to Salma and Sameer and Madhura.
I think she must have dropped.
I agree.
She may have dropped.
That's part of it, but I think just doing it in a very practiced and concise and smart manner is the most important thing.
Yeah. In terms of questions and things like that, I hope we've tried to answer most of the questions as they were going through this chat box. We have about 3 minutes. If there are any specific, burning questions that you guys want to ask, please put it in this chat box, and I will try. There's one question here about how to compensate for low scores and what to do in the low scores. I know the scores, once you get them, they're what they are. I think what you have, let's say you got a low score in step 1, then you just have to be honest about it. You say either that you didn't prepare, or if there was specific going on, that you would, then how you've improved from it. Tell them, I got a low score in step 1, and from that experience, I did really well in step 2 and see all this. I did research, I did this, I did that. So you have to show a trajectory of where that took, what you learned from that experience. So, we're all, nothing is perfect. It's the pitch that people look at. So, that's going to be the more important thing. So you have to project it in an honest and a good way. Then something about compensate for gaps in CVs. Again, it's going to be the same thing. If you have a reason for it, and it comes to that, then you be very open about it and tell them why you have the gap in the CV, and if you have a gap that you haven't done anything in, that's going to be a bit of a red flag. So meeting program directors, things like that, I don't think that really helps because people are busy, so I think if there is a specific interest in the program that you're otherwise there's some connection, you're in the same city, you've done an observership there, then I think sending letters or sending an email would be helpful, but just sending random emails I don't think is helpful. You could just apply through ERAS. What else?
Yeah, random emails will not work, I've also seen a lot of these questions. So whenever you reach out to the programs, it has to be with some aim, with some motive. You have to show what you bring to the table, even if it's like research. If your research outcomes, interests align with someone in that program, you have to bring it out. Just sending random emails to a program director or to a researcher saying that you have this score and you want to apply to the residency is not going to cut it. You need to know why they would be interested in opening your email and talking to you.
Yeah. So I think it's watching English Premier League and supporting hobbies. That's a funny one. It depends on talking to. But I think, it at least shows that you do something different. So, I think we're at 10 o'clock, so I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank Dr. Islam and Madhura and Alma for taking the time. We really appreciate it, and then I'll turn it over to Pawan for the information aspect of it.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. Much appreciate interest. If you're not on our group, send us a WhatsApp as you get to the group. It's a free group. Log in. You can get started by watching videos on our website. So pretty much what we've told you, some of the other hints and tips, we've been recording those, so you can watch those videos. You can go to our website to know more about our panel, what we do, how we help, what we've done last year, what services we offer. We have a Facebook page. You can follow us to get all the updates, and all the best. And we'll be starting our ERAS application personal statement classes next week. So if you need more information, you can get in touch. Thank you, and have a nice weekend.